Joining me for further analysis is Israel's Social Equality Minister, Gולן. Minister, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, Melinda.
Minister, we've heard numerous and often conflicting objectives for this operation. And most recently, Israel's Defence Minister said that the operation was brought forward because of, and I quote, developments and circumstances. What does that mean? And what are the Israeli government's goals here? And what increased the immediacy of this operation?
Well, Melinda, I can tell you that after over 45 years of Iran chanting death to Israel and death to America, one had to come forward and take action. And this action is Israel with her friend, the United States of America, and the President Donald Trump, of course, with our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, is taking forward towards eliminating this cancer, this tumor that has been growing with so many metastases around the world. In the end of the day, we see a dictatorship that not only slaughter her own people, men, women, and children, but also is trying to kill and murder everything that's liberal and everything that's free. And I think that at this time, after we've been trying peace and we've been trying live in all kinds of areas in order to have peace with the region, we have been seeing a very violent dictatorship that has been trying to eliminate Israel and has been throwing missiles and rockets at innocent civilians and innocent neighborhood. And it's not only at Israel. We see the neighbors around us. We see Saudi Arabia. And of course, we know that the metastases of Iran are in Yemen and in Iraq and in Lebanon. And we now know that in order to take this threat out, in order to have peace in the region, to have a new Middle East, we have to take this action. And let me tell you, we have men and women that were murdered since this operation has begun. We have over 1,000 injured in Israel. This is not something that Israel takes pleasure whatsoever. But we now know, after the negotiation, Witkoff, the advisor for the Trump administration, has been saying that in the negotiation, they said that in a shorter period of time, they will have over 11 nuclear bombs to throw. We know that we have to stop it, not only for us, but for the free liberal world. And I think that all the Gulf countries around us should come forward and help us do this thing, because we need peace, we need quiet, and we want stability. And this operation can't come again and again after every year. After this operation, we will achieve peace, and we really hope that the people of Iran, which, by the way, it's very important to say, we have no rivalry with. We have no rivalry with the people of Iran. On the contrary, I can tell you that on a personal note, I'm not just the Minister for Social Equality, I'm also the Minister for Advancement of Women. And my dream is that women in Iran would be free from the slavery that they are in. That they will be able to walk freely, to speak freely, to go around the street, to drive their cars without being slaughtered and threatened by their own dictatorship regime.
Okay, we're going to come to peace.
What's going on right now?
We'll come to peace in just a moment, but I want to bring you back to the war aims, because everything you've said there is quite broad, but specific aims, specific goals. What does success look like? Is it ballistic missiles? Is it the nuclear program? Because we heard from Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs that the negotiations had gone well and they were making progress on agreement with regards to nuclear enrichment. So what are the specific goals here? What does success look like?
Well, first of all, I think that if the negotiation would have worked well, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are in right now. We remember the fright that Barack Obama was in with the disgraceful agreement that he made that basically led us to where we are and led the regime in Iran to have more nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs. Now, the goal is to take the threat out. Just like you deal with cancer. When you have cancer, you have to deal with it. Now, it takes time. You have setbacks. You have hard and difficult treatments. But in the end of the day, you have to take the tumor out. Iran is the #1 sponsor in the world for terror. the number one sponsor, and we see it in its proxies. We see it in Hezbollah in Lebanon. We see it in Hamas in Gaza. We see it in Yemen, in Iraq, and other places. In the end of the day, we have to take the threat out from Israel and from the civilians in Israel who wants to live in quiet and in peace. Now, let me remind you, when we strike in Iran, and a lot of people thought that we took out the capability for missiles and nuclear weapons of Iran, the opposite happens. They just build it up heavier and
that's
made it more
interesting because
stronger.
I wanted to ask you about that, Minister. Israel said that the nuclear program was destroyed after the 12-day war. What evidence does Israel have that Iran had rebuilt its nuclear program and that an attack was imminent?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you that I think that the attack we did on Iran not so long ago was historic. And the world and some of the allies did think that we destroyed the majority of the nuclear weapons
So does that mean
Iran
it was
had.
unsuccessful then if we're back here less than a year later?
On the contrary, it was very successful, and we made them stop doing what they wanted to do at that time, because at that time, we know, together with the United States of America and the President Donald J. Trump, that if we wouldn't have done the attack that we did back then, our situation would have looked much differently now. Instead of taking the funds that they have and rebuilding themselves with their people that are on hunger and very, very poor, they took the little that they had and rebuilt their nuclear weapons. Now, I can tell you that I can't say anything here. Obviously, I cannot reveal the entire strategy, but we have the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that for the last 40 years has been saying that the Iran regime will not stop until it will have nuclear weapons and will be able to destroy the state of Israel. And together with the American, together with the American administration and together with President Trump, I know that they have shared values, shared strategy, and shared view on how to deal with this operation, which we want to end in peace. We wanted to bring peace in the end of the day. No one in this country, not America and not Israel, wants to continue terror. Trust me that we don't like running to the shelter bombs every minute, and we don't like our children.
Like I said, we're going to come
us.
back to peace, but you mentioned the US administration there. Apart from shared views, I mean, you need to stage war with actual hard justification here. And a member of the US congressional group that has access to classified intelligence, known as the Gang of Eight, a member of that group says there was no imminent threat and no evidence has been shared with the US to suggest that there was.
Well, I beg to differ, and obviously I cannot say everything that I know, but I just think that Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump knows what they're doing together with their administration. We just heard the Minister for War, Pete Hegseth, saying today that they are eliminating numerous of missiles and numerous of nuclear weapons, and they will not stop until they take this threat away. There has to be a reason for them to do that. Now, we've been seeing the missiles and rockets that have been fired towards innocent civilians. But as I have to repeat that. Maybe you didn't hear me in the beginning. Advisor to the Trump administration has said, Witkoff, that in the negotiations, the Iranian regime admitted to have 11 nuclear bombs in the very short amount of time that will be able to be shot at Israel, obviously. So I don't know what more evidence we need. But you know what? I think that the allies around us and the world and everyone who really wants democracy in the world and the free liberal world should support that we are taking the head of the snake out, because we see that Iran has not only shot Israel. Iran has fired at Saudi Arabia. Iran has fired at British bases. Iran has shot at Cyprus, that is under the NATO treaty. That, by the way, under the Section 5 of the NATO treaty, the NATO should protect every country that is under its allies, and they have been doing nothing. So I don't know what else do we need. What other reasons do we need in order to attack?
What evidence did Special Envoy Witkoff provide? Because the head of the UN nuclear watchdog says there's no evidence. The group with the classified intelligence committee in the US, a member there, says there's no intelligence that these nuclear weapons existed. So what did Steve Witkoff be able to prove to Israel to say otherwise? Because it seems he's the only person who's saying that, and it's being contradicted across a lot of other fields.
Well, First, I wouldn't trust anything that anyone at the UN says. These are the same people who denied rapes and murders and kidnaps and violence against women on October 7th. As the Minister for Social Equality and the Advancement of Women, I have visited the UN numerous of times. They have been denying completely and been reluctant to even condemn what happened. So regarding the UN, really, for me, there's no point of even talking about what they're saying, because they're denying everything that Israel has had to endure for the last decades. But regarding Witkoff, I am not here to talk about the things that are between the American administration and the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. But I can tell you that, first of all, maybe you don't trust Israel, and that's okay. That's your prerogative. But I think that the head of the most democratic, largest country in the world, the United States of America, Donald Trump, and his entire administration wouldn't have supported us and wouldn't have gone out to this operation if they wouldn't have known for sure that there is a real actual threat from the Iranian regime towards Israel and towards the allies. And we can actually see that the Iranian regime, you know what? We can see the people of Iran going out and protesting. We can see the people of Iran crying. We can see them being killed in masses. We can see them crying out. By the way, I'm getting hundreds and thousands of support messages from Iranian people that are wanting this operation. They want to go out free because they are killing them by the masses. By the way, I get a lot of support from people in Saudi Arabia as well, and in India, and from around the world, because people know that we are taking a real threat from a regime that don't care about the lives of innocent people. All it cares about is the radical Islamization and killing the small devil, as they call us, Israel, and the big devil, as they call the United States of America. And we will not let it happen.
There has been a lot of concern in the United States about why this war was launched now. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, suggested the US knew Israel was going to launch an attack, so needed to preemptively hit first. Is that your government's understanding of the order of events, of why why the US struck when it did?
Look, I think that President Donald Trump is one of the highest capabilities for negotiations in the world. I think he's a very shrewd businessman and politician. We saw it, by the way, from the day he was elected. And I think that the negotiations that he led, if they would have led to some sort of a peace agreement or a peace way, which we want so much, I think that we wouldn't have gone out to this operation. We wouldn't have wanted 3 members of the same family to be killed, children that be killed in Israel. We wouldn't have wanted American soldiers to lose their life. No one would have wanted this. But we are facing a regime that has no mercy, has no humanity, and by the way, is a threat to the entire humanity of the world.
But Minister, I just want to focus in on the driving force here. Is Israel, not the US, the driving force behind this war? Is the US acting in Israel's best interest?
Of course it's acting on Israel's best interest, because we want to protect our civilians. We don't want to repeat this operation again and again and again. We want peace. We want stability. By the way, you can look at the peace agreements we have with Morocco, with the Emirates, with Jordan, with Egypt. We haven't violated even one of them. We have people from Israel that go and visit there. We have tourists from there that come here, everything with peace and love and respect and dignity. We are a nation who wants stability and coexistence with our entire region.
But what I'm asking is the US acting to support Israel's interest? Is Israel the driver here? And is the US secondary to that? Is the US a support to Israel rather than the US being putting its own interests first? Is it putting Israel's interest as such an important ally of the United States before the US in its decision-making?
I think that the US best interest is having a world peace. That's what I think. I think that the US wants to minimize as much terror as possible. I think it wants to destroy evil, just like it destroyed ISIS, just like it destroyed Bin Laden, just like it destroyed Boko Haram. I think it wants to destroy any kind of threat to the region, to the Middle East, and obviously to the world. And of course that America is the best ally that Israel has, but it looks on the world and on the best interest of the entire region first of all. I don't think that America would have gone out to this operation only to look at Israel's best interest, since they care about us very much. But I know that it has a wider range on it. And I think that the way that Prime Minister Netanyahu and Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, are conducting this is on the most responsible way that is possible, because no one is looking to kill innocent people like the Iranian regime. No one wants to destroy lives. On the contrary, we want a good stability for the Iranian people, for the allies around us, for us, and obviously for the Americans. And I think that the entire allies and the Gulf countries around should support this and being added to this effort against the Iranian regime and joined us in order to stop what the Iranian regime wants to do, first and foremost, for their own people that are being slaughtered.
So are you calling on the Gulf states to actively become involved in this war? Are you calling on them to not be defensive and actively respond here?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. I think
the
Gulf
states... You don't think that is only going to make this conflict broader and make peace more impossible if Gulf states were to actively start participating?
On the contrary, I think that when we see Gulf states that are being attacked from the Iranian regime, and I think the Gulf states have been seeing that Israel wants peace and wants stability in the area, and I think that the Gulf state wants to remain in their calm life that they have, and they know that the only threat that they have is the Iranian regime. Now, I know that they were afraid to mess with Iran, just like Barack Obama was, just like Joe Biden was, and the American administration before Donald Trump was. But we see today that what we did is also for the Gulf states, not just for Israel. And I know that they know that if we take the head of the snake out, the entire region will have a better life and a better existence. No one wants to see the Emirates being attacked. No one wants to see British bases are being attacked in the state of the Emirates. They want a good life just like we do. They want a safe life just like we do. And I think that the day after this war will end, we have peace and we have a better Middle East, a new Middle East for the entire region that everyone will bless on.
At the moment, the Gulf states are bearing a very heavy burden from the Israel-US conflict with Iran. Do you think that that will be a deterrent for peace with Israel's Gulf neighbours, that they are paying the price for Israel's war?
No, I think on the contrary. I think that the Gulf neighbors have finally been seeing what the Prime Minister Netanyahu has been talking about for 40 years, about the Iranian regime. I think they finally understand what kind of a cancerous threat and all the tumors that come out of it Iran has had and the effect it has. And I think they finally know that we are talking about what's right and what's just. And they actually should be happy that we're doing what we're doing together with the United States of America, taking out the head of the terror and its proxies around the world and the number one sponsor for terror. And I think that everyone, again, I repeat, will be happy when we take the head of the snake out.
Okay. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Israel's Social Equality Minister, Golan, thanks for being with us here on Counterpoints.
Thank you.